Jennifer is a novelist who decided to rent a secluded cabin in the woods to focus on finishing her novel. One day, while trying to take a bath, she realizes that the water in the sink is brown and the toilets are clogged. Matthew, the plumber, comes to fix the bathroom, and Jennifer kisses him abruptly as a thank you. After leaving the house, Matthew joins his friends Andy, Stanley, and Johnny, who are fishing in the nearby woods. He then tells Johnny that Jennifer kissed him, but Johnny doesn't believe it, and Stanley confirms that it's true, as this guy can't even lie. Stanley shows them the video he took of Jennifer the day before, which angers Johnny. He starts saying that girls like Jennifer would enjoy being entertained. Later that night, Jennifer hears a noise and finds a dead bird on her doorstep. She walks around the cabin to see if anyone is there, but finds no one outside. To her surprise, when she returns to her laptop, she finds a selfie of Johnny and his friends. As she begins to panic, Johnny and his buddies enter the room and start taunting her. Johnny drags Matthew into the room, even though he clearly does not endorse any of this. Frightened, Jennifer tells them that her boyfriend will be home soon, but this does not deter the men. They begin to harass her, mock her writing, and throw matches at her. Johnny forces her to drink, which she eventually does out of fear, while Matthew cowers in a corner, lacking the courage to defend her. Then he pulls out a gun and shoves it into her mouth. He then approaches her with a bottle, but this time she snatches it from his hands and hits him with it. This gives her time to grab pepper spray and rush outside. Running through the woods, she encounters the town sheriff and Earl, the owner of the cabin. In tears, she tells them about the assault she suffered and asks for help. The sheriff then asks Earl to leave and accompanies Jennifer to the cabin to handle the situation. Once there, they find the cabin empty, and the sheriff begins to look around. He suddenly starts judging her when he sees a joint and a broken bottle of alcohol. He accuses her of not telling the truth about what happened and says she has no right to make false accusations against the men he has known since they were children. The sheriff then performs a body search that, surprisingly, is nothing more than a pretext to grope her. They are interrupted by Johnny and his friends, who have just returned. The sheriff then begins to assault her in front of the other men. When she tries to defend herself, Johnny chokes her and tears off her pants while forcing Matthew to undress. Matthew initially refuses but eventually lowers his pants out of fear. The two men then hold her down and order Matthew to force Jennifer, while Stanley records everything. Amid all this, the psychopathic sheriff even has the audacity to take a phone call from his daughter. Matthew then vomits his guts, and a little later, Jennifer uses what little strength she has left to escape. As she runs deeper into the woods, she once again encounters the group, where more suffering awaits her. They drag her near a puddle and repeatedly submerge her head. As she lies on the ground, the sheriff removes her pants and throws himself on her, ignoring her pleas for mercy. Then, the men take turns with Jennifer while Stanley's camera rolls. Jennifer wakes up and realizes she is covered in dirt. She gets up and starts walking toward a bridge that spans a river. It is seen that the men are following her lazily, and the sheriff is about to shoot her to cover his tracks. But she immediately jumps into the water and disappears. They wait for her to surface, but she never does. They then walk along the river hoping to find her body, but nothing. The sheriff panics and tells the boys to get rid of her car and all the things from the cabin, and to burn the tape recorded by Stanley. After this tumultuous day, the sheriff returns home, where his wife and daughter welcome him. He spends the evening at home as if nothing happened, showing no regret for his actions. The next day, the sheriff returns the keys to the cabin to its owner and simply states that Jennifer has left and that she was a troubled alcoholic. In the following days, the boys continue their lives as if nothing happened, while Matthew sinks into guilt for what he did. Sitting alone in the woods, he even imagines seeing Jennifer's ghost. A month later, the sheriff receives a call from Earl, the cabin owner, saying that someone named Barbara is asking where Jennifer is, as she has not been seen for a month. Meanwhile, Stanley rushes to his friends, panicked, saying that someone has stolen his camera. This camera contains the recording of what they did to Jennifer, which he did not delete despite being told to. This makes Johnny furious, and he starts hitting Stanley, but Andy calms him down. That night, Johnny watches television alone when he hears a dull noise at his door and finds a dead bird there. Confused, he retreats, but he hears another noise at his door. Furious, he grabs his gun and rushes out after the next noise. That's when he finds one of Jennifer's sandals on his doorstep. He fires wildly into the air and runs toward the bushes but finds nothing. The next day, the sheriff returns home and discovers that someone has sent his wife a tape, which is none other than the tape containing the assault on Jennifer. This plunges him into a spiral and prompts him to confront Johnny. There, the enraged sheriff confronts the three, particularly Stanley, thinking he is playing a prank on him. Johnny concludes that Matthew is behind all this, as he is nowhere to be found. Later that day, the sheriff goes hunting with Earl and shoots the old man. The reason is that Earl is a witness to the crime, as he saw the sheriff bring Jennifer back to the cabin with him. Meanwhile, Matthew, consumed by guilt, wakes up in the abandoned cabin and suddenly comes across Jennifer, sitting on the couch. Happy that she is still alive, he approaches her and starts crying, telling her that he is sorry. But of course, that isn't enough. She pulls out a rope and strangles him with it. That same day, Stanley and Andy head into the woods searching for Matthew. They hear a faint sound of music, which leads them to an abandoned house. Judging by its condition, it seems that someone lives there. While Stanley is alone outside, he runs into Jennifer. As he approaches, he gets caught in a bear trap and screams in pain. Andy comes to his aid, but Jennifer knocks him out with a bat. She then ties up both men and leaves them in the woods. Next, Jennifer visits Johnny at the gas station and knocks him out with a wrench. Like her other friends, Johnny wakes up tied up and naked. Then she removes his gag and pulls out a gun, shoving it in his mouth. But, arrogant as ever, he still has the audacity to laugh. At least until she takes a pair of shears and cuts off his penis, then shoves it into his mouth. On the other side of town, the sheriff receives a phone call from his daughter, who excitedly tells him about her new teacher's visit. When she hands the phone to the teacher, it turns out to be the best teacher he could have found for his daughter, our beloved Jennifer. She confidently introduces herself to the sheriff, causing him to panic. Worried for his family's safety, the sheriff rushes home, and upon arriving he finds that his daughter is gone because Jennifer asked her to spend time with her. His daughter's still out of sight. However, when he gets into his car, Jennifer ambushes him. When he wakes up, he finds himself inside the cabin with a shotgun in his back. Jennifer finally gets her revenge.